introduce you.
Okay.
Okay, welcome Rafa to a brave, adventurous, ordinary podcast, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on the podcast. It's been a long time in the making, so I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, man, dude. The first question I want to ask you is, who are you, and what made you want to come on this podcast?
So I'm Rafa Lorenzana. I've known this guy Ding, Gerard, for a very long time since we were kids. Back in middle school, and since then we've been keeping in touch. I've liked what he's doing on the podcast, and so I like the aspect of the podcast in which he wants people to go into detail about who they are, what they believe in. So that's kind of what prompted me to, ask Ding, hey, can I get on your podcast? Me and him have been, on different paths for a while. I moved schools when I was in high school, and we've still been keeping in touch here and there. But it's nice to catch up every once in a while, see what we're doing, our different interests. So that's why I want to come on.
Yeah, man. Rafa and I were pretty tight in middle school, but we kind of like drifted apart. And then he went to a new school, and he's right. We kind of are on different paths, but I thought it would be nice as well to just connect. And yeah, so
Hmm.
right now, man, you're in New York. So how has that been so far?
Yeah, I'm in New York here. I'm studying at NYU. I just moved into my new dorm, as you can see. I mean, I think some of the first things that I noticed about New York, because I've been here before, but coming in as a student and obviously meeting people from all different walks of life, the first thing I noticed was like, there's a big culture shock between here and Manila, because I grew up in Manila my whole life, so did Gerard. And a lot of the things here are different. Obviously, you're going to have to be open to a lot of the different perspectives. Everyone's got their own opinions, and here they definitely believe in that sort of individualistic identity within everybody, so everyone's able to express themselves in different ways, and that's something that you don't really get here in the Philippines. And even when you're like going to a restaurant or whatnot, you talk to a waiter, they've all got something to say, and everybody's different here, so it's crazy. But I'm loving New York so
No,
far.
dude, that's good to hear.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's too quick to ask you this, but you
For
remember
sure.
in middle school, both of us had pretty decisive opinions, or sorry, not decisive, divisive opinions. Like,
Yes.
I feel like,
Juxtaposing.
yeah, I feel like in middle school, both of us would have gotten canceled. And right, and
Per
obviously
se.
yeah, obviously we grow out of that, and we also gain new opinions. I wanted to ask you, like, are your opinions right now more holistic, or like do you feel like you'd still get canceled if you like let out all your opinions in New York, let's say?
I mean, I believe like, you can say whatever you want. Like after all, it is a free country. You're entitled to believe what you want. You can say whatever you want despite status quo. If you want to say something, you can say something. Like I don't know about like the whole, idea of cancel culture and whatnot. Like obviously that is real to extents, but as college students, I believe part of the experience is being able to express yourself, being able to express your different opinions, whether it's political, whether it's societal, whether it's like economical, whatever you want to say. I think part of being a college student, especially here at NYU, a campus so liberal in a way, and a campus that believes in that freedom of speech, it's part of the whole experience to be able to say what you want, like whether you get canceled or not. But obviously, above all of that, I think, respecting the other walks of life, respecting other cultures and identities is what sort of, you know, encapsulates all of that. And I think that has to sort of prioritize in a way because, we are people. Sure, we may believe in different things. And I, for one, I think I'm very open about sharing what I believe in. And I think that's something that is unique. And I think that is something that I take pride in myself, being able to, not fear other people's opinions, not fear what other people are going to say. Like, I'm very strong with my opinions, but I'm not going to go out of my way to sort of convince somebody otherwise. But if you ask me my opinion on something, I'll lay it out for you.
Yeah, that's fair, bro. I've watched a separate podcast, and this was about Fordham University.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've heard of Fordham, but
I do. Yeah.
yeah, the school in the states, and I really like their model for doing things because they lay the groundwork out for one, education and protesting at the same time, because college is a space where you can have free speech, and it's also a place, I'm sure you'd agree, that you should be able to talk about your beliefs. But that gets a bit difficult, for example, if you have Palestinian students and Israeli students, for example, in the same campus, vetting for what they believe in and calling for action from the university. So what
Yeah.
Fordham has like drawn a line upon is they allow like boycotting to happen and student protests to happen, but they don't let it get in the way of education. Like at the same time, their library is like completely closed off from any noise, protests.
Mm-hmm.
You're not allowed to like storm a building, I think, or
Oh yeah.
people got arrested for that. But I think it's a bit different, right? In different universities, some universities have more lax laws. Um, what do you think about like that? And is it a bit different in NYU, like from what you've heard so far?
Yeah, no, I mean for sure in NYU it's a very liberal campus, so with that comes a lot of protesting and whatnot. I remember in my first orientation we were in Skirball. It's kind of like a an auditorium for the students, and we were listening to like a panel on a book that we were supposed to read for the summer. And one of the girls, right, in the auditorium answered a question, right, and on the mic after she spoke, she was like, "Free Palestine." So out loud in front of everybody. And so obviously that comes with her opinion and she's entitled to say whatever she wants, right? But in my school, everybody can protest and whatnot. I mean, like the fact of NYU not being like having the city as their campus, even if you know what I mean. Um, you're kind of there's no really like campus to, you know, have everybody together or whatnot. But you're able to just go on the streets, and you're able to say whatever you want. But you know, personally, I don't agree with sort of taking violent measures and whatnot to protesting. I believe like for one, it's pretty stupid. You know, like it's insane to break down a building, break down a school's building, and think that's going to do some sort of volume within the whole realm of whatever you're fighting for. You know, that for one, that just creates more havoc, that creates more conflict within something, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it's pretty stupid, and I think the people doing that need to sort of take other measures, and they need to sort of recalculate, what they're trying to say. If you're trying to fight for Palestine, for example, hypothetically, I don't understand why you're trying to break down a school library. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So that's where I stand on that.
That's fair. Regarding the issue of just protesting in general, I actually had the same opinion as you a few years back. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing or not doing more of my research. But slowly, for example, like, I started learning, like, about the French Revolution and about just, like, decisive moments in history where things happen. And I feel like protests, even violent ones, have their place in history. I've never like actually like taken part in a protest, but at the same time, it shows like it shows society using their bargaining power to change something else, because you're
Mm-hmm.
putting pressure on the status quo, on the existing measures in society at that moment, and you're extending
Mm-hmm.
your bargaining power. So that's why like sometimes you see freaking businesses like fall down, right? Or like
Yeah.
as you said, like school buildings getting torn apart. But at the same time, I feel like there is all a purpose to that. That is to change something. That is to um, force, society to take measures in something. I just feel like, yeah, you're right. Sometimes it can get like lost. Like you don't know if storming a building, in the U.S. will really translate, all the way to the other side of the world. But
Yeah.
like at the same time, you can argue like, okay, if the U.S. buildings are stormed, then the government gets informed, and the government is pressured to act, you know, internationally on those existing parties. So that can be an argument that you can make for that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, per se, you could say that, but I just do not agree. I mean, for example, let's take like the EDSA Revolution, 1986, right? In the Philippines, where we both grew up. You see, the people storming the streets of EDSA. They're all coming and like congregating towards this one area to protest against a martial law. They're protesting directly against the government. They're not breaking down anything. They all just come together for one, right? And they're speaking out against martial law, the current state of their country they're not agreeing with. You have a dictatorship in place. And I think that, okay, you can do that, right? Peaceful protest, you speak out with your words, you speak out in numbers. And for one, that could make a change, right? But if you're protesting for matters that aren't even within the country, um, and you're breaking down separate buildings, college buildings, what's the point, right? Like, what do
Yeah.
you do? What are you doing? Like, what do you expect NYU, say, for example, right? If someone broke down a building in our school, right? Like, what do you expect them to do? You know what I mean? Like, sure, it's gonna send some sort of shockwave impacts throughout, America, whatnot. It's gonna go in the news. How is that gonna help? For one,
Right.
how is that gonna help? It's not directly towards the cause. If you want to protest, you protest directly to the cause. If you want to protest, for example, against Palestine, you go down there and you talk to someone who can actually make a change there. If you're breaking down buildings, what's it gonna do? So that's where I stand on it.
Yeah, I guess to that extent you're right. Like breaking down buildings is necessary. Like it shows kind of the anger of the mob, you know, in some sense.
Yeah.
At the same time, man, like I feel like it's kind of hard, you know, like
Hmm.
as an individual trying to make a change like in the world, cuz I feel like protesters deep down have a noble and righteous cause. Like they want to make positivity to the world. It's just
Yeah.
not always clear cut, man. How do you get to the authority? How do you draw attention without being violent? You know those are all like questions that we have to answer. And
For
actually, I
sure.
wanted to ask you, what are you studying in college? Are you studying anything like regarding politics, or is it more on the
Yeah.
business side of things?
Yeah. So I'm studying. It's called GLS, but it's like sort of like politics in a way. It's a sort of like a political degree and with a concentration in economics. Because those are two things that I sort of am interested in. Like obviously, I have my plans down the line for the future, um, whether I want to switch schools and whatnot within NYU. I do enjoy economics because I do, see myself going down the line in finance, but with sort of a politically aligned degree, I am very, interested in seeing and seeking out how how different people approach different things. Like that's something I've been very interested in. So that's what I'm studying.
Do you feel like you have more leeway in the States or going back to the Philippines if you do go into politics?
No, I do not see myself going into politics, like seriously within the Philippines. I do want to work in the States. I want to work something, maybe whether it's an IB, investment banking or venture capital, something along the lines of that. But that's far down the line right now. I'm focused on my freshman year, adjusting and all. But yeah,
Yeah, man, I want to talk more about your freshman year in a bit, but I just
sure.
wanted to ask you, so is like, so college in general for you, would you say it's more of a passion, or like what you're studying, or more for like practicality? Cause I've always, I've always kind of had trouble finding the line for me, though. Is what I'm
Okay, yeah.
studying practical, or is it what I'm passionate about, or is it a mix, you know?
Okay, so the way I see it, right? I mean, like, obviously you're in high school, right? And everybody automatically assumes your next step is gonna be college, right? Like, whether you do go to college, whether you don't, right? It's almost automatically assumed as a high school student, especially in an international school in the Philippines. It's culturally embedded that you're gonna go to college in the next step, and it's also sort of, um, within that community, right? That you're expected to go to sort of a good university, set you up for a job, right? And what I believe is the only reason we're going to college, the only reason you're paying X amount of dollars, you're paying so much, you're sacrificing a lot to move to another country, study, right? You're doing that in order to set yourself up for a better life, right? Obviously, you're gonna have to study a degree. You're gonna have to choose your degree, whether you get accepted to that or not. But um, I think college and what you're taking up and studying has to align with what you want to do in the future, where you see yourself working, where you see yourself actually making money in order to put food on the table. So that's why I believe, with a concentration in economics, I believe that can set you up for some sort of job in some sort of finance. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to necessarily have your step by step plan the whole way, right? But you got to set yourself up with some sort of degree that can give you leeway in jobs in the future, like for an entry level job when you're exiting college your senior year. So I do
Yeah.
think it is more of a practicality in that sense. Like, sure, being passionate about it will enhance your ability to excel within the subject, but I think you're gonna have to choose your major based on what you believe you can work on in the future.
Yeah. Well, haven't you kind of like thought, cuz I've for sure thought, man. Have
Hmm.
you ever thought about the absurdity of paying the amount of money you're paying for a college degree in the States, just to be able to get into the entry position you talked about, which is potentially, like freaking,
Hmm.
working at a investment bank or a venture capitalist firm, like
Hmm.
your NYU is not cheap, New York is not cheap,
Yeah.
most other schools in the US are not cheap. That's not necessarily relegating the states to just being a one-off place. That's also a lot of other countries accepting international students. You ever felt kind of like cheated in that aspect?
I don't feel cheated. I mean, it's not like they're scamming you. It's not like they're saying, it's not like they're blindsiding the price. You know what you're paying for. You see, obviously you take into account many things within the university. You take into account the city. You're in New York, right? The financial capital of the world, in a sense, right? So I don't think I'm, for one, wasting money. I think you can make what you do. You make your own experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, Whether you want to excel or not, it's up to you how you use that money on your degree. It's a whole experience. You're able to make your own path, see what you want to do with it. So I do feel like, in a way, it is expensive. Sure, I understand like the price of it, but for what you're paying, and I believe a degree from this school, a degree from a U.S. college for one, is worth it, because it sets you
Yes.
up.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I think I have personally mixed feelings on both. On the same
Uh,
podcast I mentioned a while ago about Fordham, the vice chancellor, no, actually the president of Fordham was what was the person speaking on the podcast, and she actually said, like, without disclosing like numbers, the whole kind of college business, especially when you're top of the QS rankings, is really it's really inflated because there is this mindset that a more expensive college is automatically a better college, and if you down price, you're going to be competing with your competitors in that sense. So she said something like colleges were 50% more expensive than they needed to be for domestic students, not even accounting for the extra fees international students have to be
yeah.
paying for. But
Uh-huh.
so at least in my perspective, I've felt a bit cheated, even if I want to go to Australia. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I know that that is the university's main way of making their income, right? From
Hmm.
a lot from international students. So I get where you're coming from, bro. You know.
Yeah, that is true, but you also consider different endowments, you consider different donations made to the school, and you know, with there are students, obviously the main job of the school is, having students come in, take their classes, choose their majors, study what they want, right? They're available to the greatest professors. They're available to so many different opportunities. But in a sense, you consider a university like NYU, right? This is one of the most leading universities in terms of research within the country, within the world, right? You have our library Bobst, which is, housing so much database, so much research. Um, and I think that's also like a very valuable point in which the tuition can cover. You're discovering a lot about the world. You're making lots of strides in terms of research as well. So I think the university also can put that towards different avenues.
Okay, let's segue over to what you mentioned a while ago, dude. Like actually adapting to first year.
Hmm.
Like, have you been busy, man? What's been going on?
Dude, yeah, I mean, I have been busy. It is orientation week, it is like welcome week. So there's obviously a lot of events lined up, whether that's socially or within your courses. Obviously, a lot of orientation, getting acclimated to the school. Um, there's been lots of exciting opportunities as well. They took us to Brooklyn Museum. They booked it out for like a gala, things like that. We had an orientation in Radio City Music Hall. It's just a lot of getting used to it. Lots of events to get to know people, get to know your professors, what you're going to be studying, whatnot. So it's just a bunch of basic stuff, but very enjoyable so far.
Any bits of culture shock, or like you're enjoying like being immersed in the culture lately?
Um, I am definitely being immersed within cultures, but that's not to say that I'm gonna lose my personal insights on things. Bits of culture shock, I can speak on that matter if you would like. It is somewhat political. I don't know if you want that on your podcast or not.
Like how political are we talking? Like,
Like obviously
obviously,
within,
I yeah.
yeah, like within the US, obviously there's lots of different opinions, there's lots of different voices on, presidential race and whatnot. Um, so yeah, it's definitely a lot of culture shock, a lot of people just expressing their opinions, expressing what they want, staying true to themselves. So pretty good, I guess.
Holy
Definitely lots
shit,
of culture
man!
shock.
I forgot that you were just attending uni, like in the midst of the presidential race, man. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
dude, that didn't even come to my mind, man. That's probably
Yeah.
what they're all talking about there, right? Jeez.
Um, not all the time. I mean, if you do get into a conversation like that, people are gonna be very strong-minded. And obviously I'm in New York, that's a very blue state. Obviously I'm in NYU, that's like one of the most liberal campuses in the country. So it is what it is. You're gonna hear some stuff. Maybe it goes one ear out the other, but yeah.
Yeah, man. Have you been able to meet people that you click with? How's that
Yeah,
been so
yeah.
far?
Yeah, I met a lot of good friends so far. You meet them through different experiences, meet them through different orientations, whether it's your dorm for one. But I've met a lot of good people, um, a lot from here, a lot Asian. You're gonna see so many different kinds of people, and everyone, of course, in Welcome Week, they're gonna be so friendly, because everyone's just trying to make friends. So I've met a lot of good people. I have a nice group, so it's pretty nice. I'm vibing.
You think that the friends you make in high school will be able to, like, you feel like your friendships in high school are just more significant than in uni, or do you feel like they're about the same? It's just what you make of it in reality.
Well, I do love my high school friends. Um, it's obviously going to be different, friends from Manila, you're going to have a lot of shared experiences. Culturally, you come from the same backgrounds and whatnot. Um, you're obviously in tuned to the same type of things. And it's going to be different, for sure. The type of friends you make in high school, the type of friends you make in college. But, obviously, I've known these friends in college for like a few days now, literally. So I'm not going to compare right now. But I do love my high school friends. Big shout out to them. Love them lots.
Nice, bro. I'm sure
Yeah.
they appreciate the shout out. What's the most
Yeah.
interesting person you've met so far in NYU, man?
um, I've definitely met. Okay, define interesting. Define interesting.
I don't know, bro. Like a person you'd like to talk about on the podcast, bro.
Um, I don't know if I can say that. Like they might see it or whatever. So
Oh,
I don't
okay,
wanna.
yeah,
I
small
don't wanna speak
world.
on other people. Yeah.
That's fair. I guess we can talk about what's the most interesting experience you've had in NYU so far? Like it's just been a week,
Ooh.
right? So
Yeah, yeah.
really, there are that many like things to pick from already, or
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of stuff. So, what's an interesting experience I've had? You're gonna have to give me like a few seconds on this.
yeah,
But
take your time,
definitely,
fam.
hmm, I think some of the interesting things I've seen so far in college have to be with, sort of what we talked about earlier. People kind of, oh, well, New York, you're going to see a lot of things. Like, if you go to Washington Square Park, which is like, sort of in the NYU campus, you're going to see a lot of like crackheads and whatnot doing crazy stuff. Um, One of the craziest experiences I've seen in NYU is a guy in a wheelchair, right? Every morning he's kind of there. And I've seen this guy on a wheelchair, and it's sort of been alerted as well by the campus safety that this guy is like robbing different NYU students and he's on a wheelchair. So,
Shit,
yeah, it's fucking crazy. I don't know, man. There's this dude on a wheelchair. I can show you a picture later, but he's been robbing a couple NYU students. I don't know how he's doing it on a wheelchair, but yeah, it's pretty
dude,
interesting.
that's my question as well. Is it like, is it like students, just go up to him because he's on a wheelchair and then they get caught off guard, or this guy has like rocket boosters on his wheelchair, bro? Like, what's going on
I
here,
don't
man?
know, dude. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know how he's robbing students on a wheelchair, but hey, man, props to him if he's doing that. But that's definitely interesting. I mean, a lot of culture shock here in America. You're gonna see crazy things on the street. Like it feels like a video game sometimes.
Shit, man. Why
Yeah.
why do you think the extremes are like that in America? Like, um, obviously in the Philippines, poverty is a problem, but you don't see
Mhm.
crackheads on the streets. You,
Yeah.
I in Manila, I've never heard of somebody get robbed by a guy in a wheelchair. For one.
Uh, yeah. I really don't know. I think it is a matter of culture. Obviously in the Philippines, you're not gonna see. You're obviously, for us, like we're not gonna be walking in those types of crazy areas with like lots of violence and whatnot, right? Like that's just not accustomed to a lot of the people that we know in Manila Ding. But here in here in the States, you don't have those sort of gated communities unless you're like, big time or whatever. Obviously the security is a lot more, it's a lot more spread out, but
Lax.
if you have, it's lax for sure, but if you have people on the street, they are free to do whatever they want and stuff, right? Like that's embedded within the state of America, within the culture of it, right? You have your freedom of expression. You can do whatever you want, whether you're screaming on the street or not. That's sort of normal, in a way, even though it is weird, right? That is normalized. Like almost seeing these types of things, seeing these types of crazy experiences, especially in New York, a lot of it is just normal, to be honest. But you just sort of walk away when you're in that type of moment. Obviously a big tip that I've been given is just don't look at them in the eye. You don't want any trouble per se. So yeah,
Dang. Huh. Well, I guess
yeah,
you have to really be there to experience it, man. I've
yeah,
talked to
for
people
sure.
like in London, and they're like when I went to London last time as well. There was a lot of like petty crime, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of saw through the social ladder, I guess, in that sense. But yeah, man.
Yeah.
Huh. Let me think. Let me think.
Mm-hmm.
Um. What's the number one thing, bro, that you miss in the Philippines? Cause you're actually
Oh.
you, you're one of the first people who has currently moved to uni that I'm like currently asking. Cause
Yeah.
a lot of my friends have like just landed, or that
Okay.
type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. What is one thing I miss about Manila? Okay. Well, obviously one thing I do miss about Manila is sort of the ease of life, it is very easy. It is very sweet to live in Manila because you're obviously blessed with like so many things like drivers are normalized, having yayas is normalized, and that just makes your life so much easier. You know what I mean? If you're here in the States, right, that's not common at all. Um, in Manila, it's a lot easier to get around, and obviously you have that sort of safety bubble within. And I think just you live a better lifestyle in Manila. Like it doesn't necessarily mean better opportunities and whatnot, but you definitely live a better lifestyle, and that's something I've already been missing. Like I've been cleaning my bathroom like every other day, and that's something
Yeah.
that's not really common for um, types of people in Manila, But it is very interesting living here in the States, and I'm definitely gonna get used to it. And for one, it does add that sort of layer to yourself. But yeah, I've been getting used to sort of the domestic care of things, and I do miss a part of Manila, the ease of it. But it's all gonna be worth it in the end, and I'm here for a reason as well. So yeah, I do
Yeah.
miss Manila, but I'm gonna be there soon. So it's not like
Yeah, man,
I'm
that's
missing it,
yeah.
missing it. Yeah.
That's good to hear, bro. It's for sure a different lifestyle, but like a distinction I'd like to make is both you and me, we're we're
Yeah.
we're, we're pretty well off in Manila. I don't imagine like it's the same for people like even middle class in Manila. Like most of them don't have drivers and most of them don't have yayas. So like at one point someone labeled me like social, in Manila,
Yeah.
which just means like you're bourgeois.
Yeah.
You're up there. So I guess that is the distinction I'd like to make. But it's a good point that you make um, if you're upper class in Manila, everything's freaking easy. You have a driver, everything is
Yeah.
slow paced, and
I
you kind
know.
of have things. You kind of have people doing things for you, and that's the service component embedded in the Philippines, but also just inequality, don't you feel?
Hmm. Yeah, no, for real. Um, Obviously labor for one is a big difference. There's a big difference in distinction between labor here and in Manila. In Manila, it's sort of, it's within the culture that labor can come cheap, and a lot of the jobs that people take in order to earn money, obviously in such an economically large gap, right? You see so much income inequality. So in Manila, you're instantly there to take whatever job approaches you, right? So hence why a lot of jobs in sort of hard labor, domestic care pop up. But here in America, within the culture, it's nobody nobody wants to work for free. Nobody wants to work these kind of jobs. Like whether sure there are a lot of blue collar jobs that you can take out here, but people are open and people are always gonna fight for, a higher pay and whatnot. And it is very individualistic culture. So in that sense you're gonna see people like fighting for um, a lot of higher pay, right? And a lot of different types of jobs. So you're not gonna see yayas at all and whatnot. Like that's
Yeah,
very uncommon here.
yeah, it's all connected to liberty, I would say,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's less of that here for sure. Where would you rather work if that's the case, the Philippines or the U.S.? I mean, I'd imagine the U.S., right?
We'll see. We don't know what's gonna happen. I'm definitely gonna want to work here for a bit. I don't know if that's gonna be permanent or not. Probably not, but I do see myself working here for a bit. Definitely. Especially on an entry level job out of college.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dang, dude,
Mhm.
excited for you there, man. Should
For
let
sure.
me know what you get into.
Yeah,
I
I'll
guess
let you know in
yeah.
4 years.
Yeah, 4 years, 4 years, man.
Mm.
I go to uni next year, so it'll be five
Oh
years for
yeah,
me before I can tell you. Yeah, man.
yeah. Where are you going, Ding?
I am going to Australia, so same, an international student, kind of like acclimating to a new place.
For sure, for
I
sure.
am working in a different industry compared to you though. You talked about practicality and you're going into IB, investment banking, and
We'll
uh
see. We'll see.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We'll
Kind
see.
of
We'll
that.
see.
Well, that's your like initial picture, right? Most of the time we get like our initial picture kind of wrong, right? But that
Right.
is our initial picture. My initial picture has always been like healthcare and helping people, but at the same time,
Okay.
right? I don't want to I don't want to ignore the practicality side of things. Like I did choose it as well because I will get a job in the future and I
Hmm.
will have like a stable pay. It's the
Yeah.
practicality side of things.
So you're going into healthcare?
Yeah,
That's
oh,
nice.
gonna be a PT in 4 years, man.
Oh, that's
And
sick, man.
yeah, I've been observing a lot of athletes lately. You still play
Yeah.
basketball?
I do. I played yesterday with a couple people here. But not
Okay.
nothing serious anymore after like varsity and stuff, but definitely just for fun, just a lot of recreation also. Very fun stuff,
Yeah.
I still love basketball.
No, yeah, man. I remember you were pretty good at basketball when we were kids. I would always
Yeah,
would always like try to learn what I could from you. But
appreciate
yeah, man.
it.
But at the same time, like um, to me, you were like really good. But would you say you are good at the sport? Like not just pursuing it recreationally now. You know?
Would I say I'm good?
Yeah.
Is that what you asked? I mean,
Yeah,
I'd like to
because
think I'm good. Sure, I'm not
because
I'm not
yeah.
LeBron, but I'm definitely not LeBron, but I'm definitely better than like the average person. But I'm not gonna say I'm insanely great or nothing, you know.
Mhm.
Like I'm not
No.
going for D1
Mhm.
or anything. I'm not playing college basketball. I like to play basketball for fun though, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I wanted to ask you if like that kind of perception changed at all in the U.S. Because like I don't know, man. Like Americans are just bigger, they're taller, right? They play
For
basketball
sure.
more. Do you think it's kind of shocking, like the like how they raise the average from like the Philippines, for example, if we play recreationally?
Yeah. I mean, definitely physically they have sort of, Western countries, they have that physical edge over a lot of Asian countries, and that's not like knocking ourselves or anything, but it's just like a matter of life. They are bigger, um, like on average, and so that is going to correlate to a sport directly like basketball, for example, and also culturally, of course, sports. And I know we have a great basketball culture in the Philippines, but within America, that's the home of the NBA, that's the home of the NCAA. You see a lot of high school students, right? Um, all pushing towards that. So of course they're going to be better than here in the Philippines, and that's something that's sort of been known. Um, Obviously, you don't see any Philippine basketball players going to the next level um, in the NCAA or something. You see them going to domestically, for example, to the UAAP. But if you look at the skill gap between those two collegiate conferences, there's obviously going to be differences in the skill gap, and that's sort of been known to everybody, especially those who support sports, and they know both sides of it. So yeah.
Well. I want to ask you, like, what's the reason for that, man? Because we did bring up like physical
Yeah.
components, like the physical aspect, but what are the other reasons for that skill gap, man? Because we try
What are
to
the other
emulate the
reasons?
states a lot
Yeah.
here. I think
Hmm.
that's just a given in our
For sure.
society, right?
Hmm. You know, I really don't know. There's not one thing, I believe. I think obviously something that does have to do with it is the physical component of it, but you're also going to see a lot of people, here in the States. Um, they play basketball not only sure in the Philippines it is the same way, but they're exposed to a lot more basketball culture and a lot better basketball culture for sure. Um, the different You're gonna have different like AAU circuits, for example, here in the United States and in the Philippines, like basketball at that level, especially from a grassroots, it's not gonna be as good. Obviously, you're gonna be playing with better people. There are better players here in the States, and that is for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, man. I saw like a video on YouTube, and it's like because each country has their own kind of sport that they are good
Hmm.
at. Um, I guess in the Philippines we just won a gold in
Yeah,
gymnastics.
for sure.
We've never like placed in basketball, but like, you think
Uh-huh.
the Philippines would just do better, like, you know, finding a different sport, or you think that basketball should just stay embedded in the Philippines no matter what, even if we aren't, top of the line in basketball?
Um, I feel like our government for sure, like after winning two gold medals in the Olympics in gymnastics, we definitely have to play to our advantages. As Filipinos, we're definitely in like the bottom threshold of height, for one. So obviously that's not going to correlate to a lot of success in basketball. But for a sport like gymnastics, where you're required to be nimble, you're required to be agile, I think the government definitely has to address that. Um, if we want to succeed in international sports, we're going to have to play to our strengths. And despite having such a large concentration on basketball and whatnot, I think that's also good for the culture. I mean, for a reason, basketball is so big in the Philippines, right?
Yes. Yeah,
So
it is
definitely
for a
we're gonna have
reason.
to cater. We're gonna have to cater to that demand as well. Like, if I were, a major sports brand, if I was, within that basketball stratosphere, especially commercially, I'm gonna want to cater to that large demand of basketball in the Philippines, and obviously that is gonna boost the culture, and that is good. But whether that's gonna improve us internationally, sure it could, but you know, I don't believe we should diminish that for one.
Yeah, exactly. If you've ever, walked past a barangay and
Uh-huh.
they're playing locally, basketball, it brings people joy, man, especially people without that many resources. They get to pick
Mm-hmm.
up a ball, and then they literally like create like plastic crates and
Oh yeah,
create a hoop out of that, and it's part of the culture here in the Philippines,
for sure.
that's just who we are, man. I wanted to ask you,
Mm-hmm.
what impact has basketball, or any sport for that matter, had on your mental health, man? If you're comfortable
On
talking
mental
about that.
health. I
Yeah,
mean,
has it made you
yeah,
like happier?
yeah. I mean, I've been lucky to like sort of never struggle with a lot of a lot of mental health aspects. But definitely having sports in my life, that's definitely uplifted me in the sense that I've been able to make new friends. A lot of the friends I've made is through sports, whether that be in elementary school, middle school, high school. In the team, you have that sort of bond, and it's almost familial in a way. So I think sports, especially for people, as you talked about in like lower income households, they've been able to. Oh wait, sorry, my roommate's coming. What's up?
Yeah, no worries, bro. I can
I'm
cut
in
this
a
part out, like,
I'm
if
in a
ever.
thing. Yeah. Okay, wait,
Yeah,
sorry.
you're good, bro. Don't worry
Um,
about it.
just cut that out. Just cut that out. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah, you're
sports,
good, bro.
especially for people in sort of lower income households, who aren't, who don't have that sort of access to different types of things. You can play basketball if you just have a plastic crate, as he said, and you just have a ball, right? And you're able to sort of bond on the same levels that other people are able to have with, just all you need is a ball, all you need is sports, and you're able to have that sort of familial bond with other people. And within high school, that was actually one of my projects that I did. I raised money in order to build sports courts, for underprivileged areas, and one of the places we targeted was in Pasig because there was a community living under a bridge right in that area, and they were very interested in basketball. They did have those plastic crates, and we did some renovations on that, so they were able to play um, with better and higher functioning sports courts. So yeah, I'm very passionate about that, and I'm glad you brought it up because I do believe that sports is a catalyst for one, better mental health, better physical health, and also with building that sort of bond within different communities.
Dude, sick, man. Well, when did you do the project again, you said?
I started in grade 11 and I carried it out until senior year. So yeah.
Oh, wow, dude. Dang. So, you built basically better facilities for the kids in Pasig, you said, right?
Yeah,
What?
in a
Yep.
community. Yeah, we were able to like refurbish an area under the bridge and apply different, basketball and sports facilities there. So yeah.
How many people did it take? Was it just you and like a couple of close friends?
Yeah, no, it was not with close friends. I sort of did it alone. The way I raised funds was through like a charity concert, and through that I
Mm-hmm.
was able to work and talk with different government officials within Barangay Pineda. That's what it was called, and through that we were able to sort of make plans together. They were able to bring in people as well, and it was sort of it was a big project for me at least, and I thought I was making some sort of social change, being able to help those types of people. So yeah.
It's sick, man. Did any of the kids like thank you afterwards or like
Yeah, yeah.
have a
No,
chat
of
with
course.
you afterwards?
I did play there. I did hang out there, getting to know the people and all. So it was nice to work with a community for one, because you do sort of build that bond with them too, and that is nice. That not only does it help them, but it also gives you that sort of understanding that you're doing something good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fair, bro.
Yeah.
There's also like the whole I guess culture part of basketball, right? Like
Hmm.
when I was playing basketball, at least we
Yeah.
always loved talking about the NBA and
Yeah. Yeah.
and talking about I don't know, man. Like each kind of community has their own like jokes, memes, like
Hmm.
insider things. Are you still part of that? Like you still follow the NBA and
Of
things like that?
course. Yeah. Yeah, that's something that's not gonna change. It's not like a Netflix show, for example. When that ends, you stop talking about it. Like the NBA is something that's been ongoing for a while, and it's obviously a big part of my life. I was able to have a lot of great moments just watching basketball. You're able to connect with other people on different levels just talking about basketball, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah,
So
man.
yeah, I do still watch. I definitely support different teams as well. So yeah.
Dude, sick, dude. Let me think of a few more other questions over here. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's a great thing, to talk about basketball and uh, actually like everything you've done with it because you've played it, you've done charity, regarding basketball, and you still follow it and brings you entertainment, man. So
It's definitely entertaining. I'm not gonna say like I'm a LeBron James type player. Like I'm not getting recruited to a D1 school or whatever, but I do enjoy it, and I believe everyone should be able to enjoy it. So yeah.
yeah, man. Okay. Are you okay with like answering a few like personal questions about yourself?
Yeah, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, man. Just to get to know you better, man. What do you think is the biggest challenge that you've faced so far, bro? Like,
Ooh. Like generally, you wanna narrow it
yeah,
down or
man.
something?
If
Like what kind
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
what kind of problem?
I guess anything to do emotionally or that made you grow as a person, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
anything you'd like feel comfortable sharing on this podcast.
Um, I feel like a big problem that I've had. Hmm. Nah, I don't want to talk about it publicly, but I can tell you another time.
That's fair, bro. Completely fair.
Yeah.
Completely fair. Um, do you are you usually open, to talk about things with your close friends? Like, what
Yeah.
role do they play in your life, man? You know.
Yeah, I mean, I think friends are a very important part, of for one, your mental health, and one, your ability to build connections with other people. If you need another avenue to open up to, right? Your friends are always going to be there if you do trust them and stuff, right? But obviously, they're going to give you a different sort of outlook on things from your family members, because your family members, for one, are obviously obviously, they do love you and they do support you and stuff, but um, your friends are also going to give you that sort of they're going to give you for one, depending on your friends, right? They're going to give you other perspectives on things, and that's also something good in a way. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they are supporting you, and I think the fact that that they do support you, and they're not your family members also shows, that your bond and your friendship is something that is great.
Dang, yeah, dude. I heard you mentioned in passing you had a trip to Thailand with a
I did.
couple of your friends, and that was
I did.
after Batch Bora.
After about, yeah, we took like a 9 hour break to sleep after Boracay, and then we went on a flight to Koh Samui,
Oh wow, dude.
island in Thailand. Yeah, that was fun. That was fucking fun.
How was it? Was it your first time to Thailand?
That was not my first time in Thailand, but that was my first time in Koh Sam. We went actually because within like our school's conference, like IASIS, one of the schools in Bangkok was like, "Oh, you guys should come to Thailand, right? Because all these other
Mm-hmm.
international schools from Asia are gonna be there." And so obviously we were like, "Hell yeah, we're pulling up," right? So
Yeah.
we went with just the guys in our grade, and we went to Koh Samui with the mentality to obviously have fun, obviously to network, meet different people, have crazy experiences, because with Koh Samui obviously comes a lot of, fun things, crazy
Yeah, yeah,
things,
yeah.
a lot of
What happens in Thailand stays in Thailand, right? You know? Yeah, bro. Like, I
you
mean,
could, yeah, sure, you could say
yeah,
that.
sure. Yeah, man. So a big part of it was networking, and this is within the international school community, right? You know.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna meet a lot. Sure, they're not from the same country as you or whatever, but you're gonna have a lot of shared experiences just through being like in the same type of school. You're both taking IB. Um, you are from Asia. There's a lot of international students for one who are moving to a third culture country. They're not from that country, and it is just very nice to connect with a lot of people your age. You've just graduated and you're all trying to have fun. So I think that's a big reason why we had a lot of fun on the trip. We were just able to let loose, meet other people, have a great time. So I definitely
Truly,
enjoyed that. That's one of the most fun trips I've had, for sure.
truly, yeah. You think it's like the big break after school ended, like you could just like relax and spend time with the people who you wanted to spend time with. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
sick, man. Yeah, I also felt Batch Bora was the same for me. And for viewers
Yeah.
who don't know like what Batch Bora is, basically, at least in Manila, like international schools always do have a tradition of like going to the beach with the entire cohort. So it's kind of a time for us to relax and lie low for a
Yeah.
bit before college, right?
How did you like Bora? Like, how was your experience there? Because we went at different
I
times and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I really liked it, to be honest. Cause the entire school year I was working my ass off, academically and everything in line with that. But going to Bora, you got to see, for me at least, I got to see friends who didn't really, go out and didn't really party that much, try new things out.
Uh huh.
We were able to see a bit of everybody, I feel. And that is, I feel like, a unique part of going on a trip um, with people in the same class as you, the same cohort as you, because not all of you guys are close, and and like people come from all sorts of different social backgrounds. Like some people are
Yeah.
into partying, other people like throughout the year they were kind of less into that, or sometimes their first time clubbing, for example.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was really cool to see everyone kind of try things out. Everyone kind of enjoyed themselves, and
Yeah.
that for me that was the most unique part of Bachelor. We got to see everyone in action, everyone doing something.
Yeah. So where would you say you fall on that scale? You know what I mean? Like you talked about,
Okay.
yeah. Where would you say you fall on that scale?
I would say like what's a 1 and what's a 10?
Like, not necessarily a scale, but what type of person are
Yeah,
you? You know what I mean? Like you said, people they all you saw them out of their shell and whatnot. So, in
yeah.
what ways did you come out of your shell? Like, what type of person were you, and what were you able to do differently in Bora? I'm interested.
I think in Bora that was my first time going clubbing with
Yeah.
uh with friends, and
Uh huh.
it was pretty fun. Um, I feel like the type of person I am, at least socially, I like my peace and quiet.
Yeah.
Usually like with
Like,
friends, I like to um go out to nature or just kind of chill with a couple of few friends. Um,
yeah.
so definitely, I feel like the whole like going out experience was new for me.
Uh huh.
I don't feel like I like it per se, not because I think there's anything like wrong with it. I just feel like it was just too overwhelming for me, bro. Like couldn't really talk much with people like with the loud music and stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like house parties are just more fun, man. You know, my
Yeah. Yeah.
experience.
Okay.
Where would
I
you
love
fall
that.
on that scale?
I like to have a good time, like with friends. I do enjoy, going out and stuff, but I think it's all about a balance, all about having a good balance. But I'm definitely someone who is extroverted, so I will enjoy a night out with friends. I'm not gonna let it get in the way of my studies, but I do enjoy having a good time, especially with good friends, good company.
Yeah, there are a lot of places in Manila to do that anyway, right? You know.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can I can recommend you if you like.
Uh, maybe after the podcast, bro. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, man. Yeah, dude. Uh, how about anything recent that's come up? You know, cause
In my life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You know,
Hmm.
just in closing, you know, with the podcast, you know, what's been going on lately that you feel comfortable sharing, you know, with everyone.
Um, I don't know, dude. Like, obviously, college is a new experience. On the podcast with everyone, I don't know if I can share a lot of details, but yeah, I can share that with you in our other free time.
Sure, man. Yeah,
Yeah, you have
I
any other
haven't.
questions?
No, not really, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't spoken to you and like actually spoken to you like 2.5 years, like face to
Yeah.
face, man to man, because
Yeah.
I've seen you like for example, in social events or like in passing or like that one time we hung out with Josh, kind of get
Oh
together
yeah,
type
yeah.
thing. But you
Yeah.
know, I haven't
Shout out
actually gotten to
Josh.
talk. Yeah, shout out Josh. If, yeah, but anyway, dude. Yeah, not much. It's been nice to catch up with you, and obviously, I know there are a lot of things that we don't feel comfortable with, like talking on the podcast, and that's fine, bro. You know, this is
Yeah.
ultimately tailored to you, and I'm glad that you wanted to be on the podcast and that you wanted to share a bit about yourself with me as well as catching up, man. Yeah.
Yeah, man. For sure, dude. It's been good having me on the podcast. I'm very grateful for you. It's been 2 years in the making, dude. It's great to get on finally.
Yeah, man. I enjoyed you on, bro, and I'm grateful for it, bro. I'm grateful for this
I'm very
conversation,
great.
man.
Yeah, yeah. Me too. If you ever want to get me back on the podcast, maybe with Josh or Chard, I'd be so
Nah,
down,
bro,
man.
I can't do
Okay,
three people on a
okay, okay.
podcast at once. That's
Okay,
like
okay. I just have a question
that's too
though. I
much.
have a
Yeah.
question.
Sure.
Like, what is it, in sort of the model of your podcast? Like, why don't you want to have the three of us on the
Right.
podcast at the same time? You know?
Okay. Well,
Wouldn't that enhance
first
the
off,
conversation in a way?
um, I would probably vehemently say no to the enhancing the conversation part because
Okay.
I've always envisioned a podcast where I sit down and talk one to one with a person. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
when there is a group environment, it's harder to get to know the person. It's harder to talk about shared experiences, and at the same time, like, I made it very clear to myself, at least, at the start of this podcast, I wanted it to kind of be more of a serious endeavor, not
Okay.
like instead of like a group get together or like interviewing multiple people surface level at once. So that's why I initially declined 3 people at once, and will continue
Okay.
to do
Okay.
so. But anyways, dude, really grateful for this conversation, and thanks for being here, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Ding. Been nice talking to you again. And yeah, let me know when this is gonna be up, bro. I had a great convo with you. And good
All
luck.
right,
Good luck.
bro. Virtual fist bump, man. Okay.
Ooh. Alright, man.
Okay.
Much love, bro. Much love.